My love, if you have opened this message and made it this far, I have only one request. Please don't close it halfway through, because today, for the first time, I am going to tell you everything I buried deep inside my heart for so many years. Perhaps these words will change our lives, or perhaps this is simply the final price of my silence. I spent my entire life trying to appear strong in front of everyone. I smiled in every gathering. I looked confident in every photograph. People applauded every success I achieved. With every new milestone, the world called me fortunate. But no one ever knew that when the lights went out at night, a silence awakened inside me that was louder than every voice in the world. I would often stand by the window, staring into the endless sky, and only one question echoed in my heart. Does success really make a person complete? Or does a person become complete only when they are safe inside the heart of the one they love? I searched for the answer to that question for years, but I found it only in your eyes. And the tragedy is that by the time I found it, I had already become a prisoner of my own silence. Today, I want to tell you something I should have told you on the very first day of our marriage. I was never a man who knew how to express love. My words were always weaker than my feelings. Looking at you made me happy, but I never found the courage to say it. I prayed for you every single day, but I never told you. I felt incomplete without you, but I could never admit it. That became the greatest mistake of my life. People believed I was distant. The truth was that I was simply afraid. I was afraid that if I placed every weakness of my heart before you, you would never again see the strong man you believed in. So I hid my tears. I hid my exhaustion. I hid my fears. And more than anything else, I hid my love. I still remember the evening when you quietly asked me, "Are you truly happy?" I could have wrapped you in my arms that very moment and said, "You are my happiness." Instead, I answered with only 4 words. "Everything is fine." Those 4 words became the biggest lie of my life. Because nothing was fine that day. I was falling apart inside. The weight of responsibility was crushing me. Every day I solved the problems of countless people. Yet I could not solve the one problem inside my own heart. And that problem was painfully simple. I never succeeded in making you believe that you were the most precious part of my world. You may not even remember it. But one night, after you had fallen asleep, I sat beside you for a long time. I gently held your hand, and in the silence of my heart, I whispered, "If one day I fail to say these words aloud, dear God, let my silence become the witness of my love." Perhaps God wanted me to confess those words myself one day. That is why I am writing this message now, because I have finally realized that time waits for no one. And there are truths that, if left unspoken for too long, remain as wounds inside the heart forever. Today, I am not asking for your forgiveness, because forgiveness is only a word, and what I feel for you is far deeper than any single word could ever express. I simply want you to see the man who lived behind all of my silence. The man who woke up before you every morning so you could sleep peacefully. The man who stayed awake after you fell asleep just to make sure you were safe. The man who looked unshakable in front of the world, but who quietly fell apart every time a single tear appeared in your eyes. And perhaps, for the very first time, I am standing before you exactly as I truly am. Not as the man the world admired, but as a husband who was called successful by everyone, yet never found the courage to tell the most important woman in his life how deeply, how completely, and how endlessly he loved her. After all these years, there is something you deserve to know. It is not a secret because I wanted to deceive you. It is a secret because I never wanted you to carry the weight that belonged only to me. Every morning, before the rest of the world woke up, I would spend a few quiet moments alone. Those few minutes became my only place of honesty. No meetings, no responsibilities, no expectations, no applause, just me. And the truth I kept hiding from everyone. People admired my confidence. They admired my discipline. They admired my ability to remain calm under pressure. If only they knew how many nights I questioned myself, how many mornings I forced myself to smile, how many times I stood in front of a mirror, reminding myself that strong men are expected to carry everything without complaint. But strength has a strange price. The stronger the world believes you are, the less permission you have to admit that you are tired. I carried that burden for years, without realizing that the person I was protecting from my pain was the very person who would have carried it with me. You, there were evenings when you looked at me with worried eyes. You never demanded explanations. You never asked impossible questions. You simply waited for me to trust you. And I kept saying, I'm just tired. Everything is under control. Don't worry about me. Those words sounded responsible, but they were quietly building a wall between our hearts. A wall I never intended to build. Sometimes I would watch you laugh, and instead of joining you, I would silently thank God for protecting your smile from the battles inside my heart. I convinced myself that silence was love. Now I understand. Real love is not silent. Real love allows itself to be seen. It allows itself to be vulnerable. It allows two hearts to carry one burden together. Do you remember the vacation we almost canceled? You thought I was too busy. The truth is, I was exhausted in ways I did not know how to explain. Yet, when I saw the excitement in your eyes, I went anyway. And during that trip, watching you smile beside the ocean became one of the happiest memories of my life. Not because of where we were, but because for a few beautiful days, I forgot the weight I had been carrying. You gave me that gift without even realizing it. There is another truth I have never confessed. Every achievement meant less to me if I could not celebrate it with you. The awards gathered dust, the headlines disappeared, the applause faded, but the memory of your hand finding mine during an ordinary evening, that stayed with me forever. People spend their lives chasing extraordinary moments. I discovered that the most extraordinary moments were the ordinary ones we almost overlooked. Sharing coffee before sunrise, walking together without speaking, watching old movies we had already seen a dozen times, listening to your laughter echo through the house. Those memories became my greatest treasure, not because they were perfect, but because they were ours. If I could go back in time, I would not ask for more success. I would ask for more conversations, more hugs, more slow mornings, more evenings where I simply looked into your eyes and told you the truth I should have spoken years ago. You are not just the love of my life. You became the safest place my heart has ever known. And perhaps that is why I was so afraid of losing you. Because when someone becomes your home, the thought of losing them feels like losing yourself. That fear followed me every single day. It made me protect my emotions instead of sharing them. It made me hide my tears instead of letting you wipe them away. It made me pretend that I needed nothing, when the truth was, I needed you more than I ever found the courage to admit. Tonight, I am no longer hiding behind silence. Tonight, I am choosing honesty over pride. Because if this message teaches us anything, I hope it reminds us that love does not become stronger through perfect words. It becomes stronger when two imperfect hearts finally decide to tell each other the truth. There is one memory I have carried with me every single day. You may not even remember it, but I have never forgotten it. It happened on a ordinary evening, nothing extraordinary, nothing dramatic, just another quiet day that looked exactly like every other day. You were standing by the kitchen window. The sunlight was slowly disappearing. The room was almost silent. You turned toward me with the gentlest smile, and you asked only one question. Are we still okay? It was such a simple question, but I answered it with the weakest response I could have given. I smiled, I nodded, and I said, "Of course we are." You smiled back, but your eyes told a different story. Your eyes were not asking for an answer, they were asking for my heart, and I failed to give it to you. That moment has followed me ever since, because now I realize something I never understood back then. Sometimes the people we love are not searching for solutions, they are searching for honesty. They do not expect perfection. They simply want to know that they are not standing alone. I wish I had reached for your hand that evening. I wish I had looked into your eyes and said, I'm scared, I'm exhausted, I don't always know what I'm doing, but I love you more than I know how to explain. Those words could have changed everything. Instead, I chose silence. Silence became my habit, and habits quietly become distances. Distance never begins with goodbye. It begins with the conversations that never happen, with feelings that remain hidden, with tears that are swallowed instead of shared. I thought I was protecting you, but all I was really protecting was my pride. And pride is a lonely companion. It convinces a man that carrying every burden alone is strength. It never tells him that love was never designed to be carried alone. There were nights when I woke up before dawn. I would sit in the darkness, listening to the quiet rhythm of your breathing, and I would wonder if tomorrow were the last day either of us ever had. Would you truly know how deeply you were loved? Every time that question entered my heart, the answer frightened me because I wasn't sure, not because I loved you too little, but because I had said too little. Love should never become a mystery to the person receiving it. It should be spoken, it should be shown, it should be repeated until there is no room left for doubt. That is why I am writing this message, not to rewrite the past, because no one has that power, but to make sure our future is no longer built on silence. If tomorrow gives us another sunrise, I want it to begin differently. I want to stop pretending that strength means hiding every emotion. I want to tell you when I'm afraid. I want to tell you when I'm tired. I want to tell you when I need your hand. Because loving someone is not only about protecting them, sometimes loving someone means trusting them enough to see your broken pieces. You once told me something I didn't fully understand. You said, I don't need a perfect husband, I just need the real one. I heard those words, but I never truly listened. Today, I finally do. And if there is one lesson my silence has taught me, it is this. Life is far too short to leave love unspoken. No success, no achievement, no amount of wealth can replace the peace that comes from looking into the eyes of the person you love and saying, thank you for staying, thank you for believing in me, thank you for loving the man I was, while patiently waiting for the man I was still becoming. If these words reach your heart, then perhaps my silence was not the end of our story. Perhaps it was only the beginning of the conversation we should have started years ago. There is one final truth from those years that I have never shared with anyone. Not my closest friends, not my family, not even the people who believed they knew me better than anyone else. Because some truths are too fragile to be spoken carelessly. They remain locked inside the heart, waiting for the right person. And the right moment, you were always that person. I was simply too late. Do you remember the letters I used to keep inside my desk? You probably thought they were business papers, old notes, or forgotten documents. They were none of those things. They were letters I wrote to you, letters you were never meant to read. Every time I missed the courage to tell you how I felt, I wrote another letter. Every time we misunderstood each other, I wrote another letter. Every time I wanted to hold you but chose silence instead, I wrote another letter. Some were only a few lines. Some filled several pages. None of them were ever delivered because I kept believing there would always be another tomorrow, another opportunity, another perfect moment. I was wrong. Life does not promise perfect moments. It only gives us ordinary ones. And those ordinary moments quietly become the memories we treasure forever. One evening, I opened that drawer. I looked at every letter and I realized something that broke me. I had written thousands of words, yet the woman I loved had never heard the simplest sentence. I love you more than my fears. That realization stayed with me. It followed me into every meeting, every journey, every celebration, because outward success means very little. When the most important conversation of your life remains unfinished, I often wondered what you truly needed from me. It wasn't expensive gifts. It wasn't grand surprises. It wasn't the perfect house or the perfect vacation. You only wanted my presence, my honesty, my attention, the version of me that existed before responsibilities became louder than emotions. And looking back now, I wish I had understood that sooner. There is a strange illusion many men believe. We think love is proven by sacrifice alone, by working harder, providing more, carrying heavier burdens. But love also needs words. Love needs quiet evenings. Love needs listening. Love needs the courage to stop everything. Look into the eyes of the person beside you and simply say, I'm grateful you're here. I never said those words enough. Not because I didn't feel them, but because I believed you already knew. That was my mistake. The people we love should never have to guess how much they matter. They deserve to hear it. Again and again and again. If I could relive a single day, I wouldn't choose the day of my greatest achievement. I wouldn't choose the day the world applauded my success. I would choose an ordinary evening, sitting beside you, holding your hand, watching the sunset without saying anything important, until finally I looked at you, smiled, and whispered the words I kept postponing for far too long. You are the greatest blessing my life has ever known. Everything else was temporary. You were always home. That is the truth I should have told you from the beginning. And perhaps if you are still reading this, then maybe, just maybe, God has given us one more chance. Not to become different people, but to become the people we should have been for each other all along. By the time you finish reading these words, you may understand something that even I did not understand for most of my life. The greatest regret of my life is not the mistakes I made, it is the love I left unspoken. People often ask what success feels like. They imagine that reaching the top fills every empty place inside your heart. I wish that were true, because if it were, I would never have felt so lonely while standing in rooms full of applause. There were nights when I returned home after everyone had celebrated another achievement. The world called it a victory. But the only thing I wanted was to hear your voice asking, "How are you really doing?" Not because I needed someone to praise me, but because I needed someone to see me. You always did. Even when I believed I had hidden every crack in my heart, you somehow noticed them. You never tried to fix me. You simply stayed, and now I understand. Sometimes staying is the greatest form of love. There is something I have never thanked you for. Thank you for believing in me during the days I stopped believing in myself. Thank you for loving me when I forgot how to love myself. Thank you for waiting through my silence without allowing bitterness to replace kindness. That kind of love is rare. It cannot be bought, it cannot be earned through success. It can only be received as a gift, and you gave me that gift every single day. If I ever made you feel invisible, please know you were never invisible to me. You were the first thought in every difficult decision, the quiet prayer before every journey, the reason I kept standing whenever life became too heavy. You were never standing behind my story. You were the reason my story existed. I wish I had said that years ago. Maybe we would have cried together. Maybe we would have healed sooner. Maybe we would have discovered that love grows stronger when two hearts stop pretending to be fearless. Today, I no longer want to impress the world. I only want to protect the peace inside our home. Because I have finally learned that a peaceful home is worth more than endless applause. If tomorrow gives me another sunrise, I promise it will not begin with work. It will begin with gratitude. I will look into your eyes, hold your hands, and remind you every single day that choosing you was the greatest decision of my life. And if age leaves silver in our hair and wrinkles upon our faces, I will still look at you with the same heart that quietly fell in love with you years ago, because real love does not become weaker with time. It becomes gentler, deeper, and infinitely more grateful. If you are still holding this letter, then thank you. Thank you for giving my heart a chance to speak after so many years of silence. Perhaps this message was never really about my regrets. Perhaps it was about reminding you of something we both almost forgot. Love is not kept alive by perfect days. It is kept alive by two imperfect people who refuse to give up on each other. I don't know what tomorrow will bring. None of us do. But I know this. If tomorrow allows me to wake up beside you one more time, I will never waste another sunrise pretending my heart has nothing to say. I will tell you I love you before I leave the house. I will thank you for every ordinary moment we share. I will never assume you already know how much you mean to me, because love deserves to be spoken every single day. If one day this chair beside the window becomes empty, don't remember the man who was too quiet. Remember the husband who loved you even when he struggled to find the right words. Remember the man who thanked God for you in prayers you never heard. Remember the man whose greatest blessing was never his success, it was coming home to you. And if tears ever find your eyes after reading these pages, please don't let them become tears of sorrow. Let them become proof that two hearts can still find each other, even after years of silence. Before I end this letter, there is one last promise I want to leave with you. As long as I breathe, you will never walk through life alone. And if one day my voice is gone, if these words are all that remain, then let this letter become my voice. Let it remind you that somewhere beyond every fear, beyond every misunderstanding, beyond every silent night, there was a man who loved you with every beat of his heart, even when he forgot how to say it. So, this is not goodbye, because real love does not end with a letter. It continues in every memory, every prayer, every smile, every sunrise, and every heartbeat that whispers the name of the person it will always belong to. My love, thank you for being my peace, my strength, my safest place, and the most beautiful chapter my life could ever have written. Forever yours, always